Welcome back to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast. In this episode, we get to return to listen to Dave Dee. Now, Dave Dee was the president of GKIC and has been selling all his life. And today we get to learn some of the actual magic tricks and subliminal selling techniques that he uses. He's going to pull out the magic bag and share with us several different strategies and stories, including the account from hell, airplane salesperson story, the biggest sale in history, and much more. This is one of those opportunities where you listen in, especially if you want your audience to suddenly want to buy, no matter if you're selling on stage, virtually, or one-on-one. Let's listen in.
I don't think there's anybody that has had a bigger impact in the field of direct response than Dan Kennedy.
The legend of Dan Kennedy should be ignored at your own peril.
They're not really lessons, they're kind of laws that you live by.
Dan opened my eyes to what small business marketing looks like.
Dan teaches strategic direct response that is timeless.
His ripple effect touches people who don't even know his name.
The world as we know it was changed because Dan Kennedy became obsessed with marketing.
Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with your host, Dan Kennedy.
All right, now we're going to transition into teaching you the most innovative system for selling. It's composed of two parts. The first are actual magic tricks that you can do in your sales presentation. Now, some of you may laugh at that, but when I'm done, you won't be laughing. All right? This is unbelievably powerful. And the second thing is subliminal selling techniques. I'm going to teach you both tonight. So you're going to want to take a lot of notes. It's just going to be just as fun, but this is something that you can use to make money. Something that you can use to absolutely increase the power of your presentations by, seriously, at least 1,000%. It will at least double your referral business, and I'll prove it to you. Okay? At least double your referral business. It'll make your presentation sizzle. I mean sizzle. It'll make you completely different than every other salesperson that's going out. And I'm going to show you why that's powerful. It'll help you develop rapport with anyone in 4 minutes or less. This is a combination of the subliminal selling skills I'm going to teach you as well as the magic. And magic is the perfect icebreaker. The perfect icebreaker for anytime you're with a new prospect or you think a new client that you haven't seen for a while. Now, I did create this presentation specifically for you. This is not something I do. I don't speak at a lot of other people's events anymore. I do my own events. So I do have notes here. So if you see me glancing down, that's what I'm doing. Because this was specifically created for you guys. Okay? When I talk about magic tricks, let me just say this. I am not talking about you wearing a top hat and tails, going into your prospect's office and pulling a rabbit out of your hat. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is using magic as a visual aid, okay? As a metaphor, as a way to overcome objections, as a way to bring your presentation alive and illustrate key points and key benefits in your presentation. The question is, why should you be listening to me? Well, first of all, you came back tonight, so that's a good enough reason. But really, I have been selling all my life. I have sold tangibles, intangibles. I've sold radio advertising. I've sold entertainment services. I used to be a professional magician. Now, you would say, well, wait a minute. What does that have to do with what I do? How many people have to generate leads? Okay? How many people have to close the leads? Okay? How many people need to get referrals? All right? If you didn't raise your hand, you're not really in selling. It's the same thing. I've sold karate school memberships. I've owned a karate school. I've sold magic tricks. You want to talk about a hard sell? Imagine being in the mall at Christmas time, stopping people to watch magic tricks and then selling them the tricks. I've done that. I've helped sell $50,000 coaching programs with Dr. Charlie Martin. I've helped design a teleseminar for a private client, a teleseminar, so we sold this over the phone, the product over the phone, where we did $117,000 in 67 minutes. And by the way, that private client's here. Alexis, can you stand up? Alexis, did we sell $117,000 in 67 minutes? Say yes? Yes. Good, good. Sit down. All right, good. Give her a hand. Yeah, come on, that's good. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to selling. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to tell you a series of stories. They're all true stories. And I'm going to do two things in the story. The first thing I'm going to do is explain to you how I use the subliminal selling skills, the hypnotic language patterns, the power phrases to close sales, and then how I incorporated magic into the presentation. You'll see I'm not just doing the tricks for the sake of doing tricks. All right, you guys ready? Yes. Give me a yes. Fantastic. The first story, I call it The Account from Hell. The Account from Hell. I was new to radio advertising. I just got out of college. And the sales manager, Tom Hennessy, came up to me with a folder. And he said, this is a big, I'm going to talk like this is how this guy used to talk. This is a big account, big money. Don't, he used a different word, but don't screw it up. I consider that a very motivational talk for a young salesperson. And so I looked at the account. This is an account that hadn't really advertised on the radio station for a number of years. So I went and I talked to the old account executive, and she said to me, oh my God, this is the worst account ever. There's two women, they're the media buyers for this pharmacy, and they are so mean. I mean, these women are just mean. They hate the radio station. They hate salespeople. They hate the music we play. They hate everything about us. I consider that my second motivational talk for this account. And so now I'm nervous, but I had been studying different techniques of hypnotic language patterns and things like that. Dr. Scott Lewis is a master of that as well. Great show, by the way, if you check out his show in Vegas. Fantastic. And so what I did is I literally went to this pharmacy, and you had to go down these stairs into the basement of this pharmacy. I mean, really, it was dark, too. So you open this creaky door, and you walk down the stairs, and there sitting behind the desk were these two old women. How many of you guys saw the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Okay, great movie, right? You guys remember Mr. Potter? Remember Mr. Potter? Imagine two of them, but meaner. Okay? They're like, what do you want? What do you want? And so I said, from the WHMP radio. WHMP, WIMP radio. Very good name. And then I did a technique that I call the LY technique. You want to write that down, LY technique. What I'm about to teach you is worth your entire time coming here. How many of you guys have heard what maybe Tommy Hopkins calls a tag-on, tie-down close? All right? Or where you say, obviously you want to get more business in, don't you? Right? A life insurance example would be, obviously the security of your family is important to you, isn't it? Right? Everyone's heard that technique, right? Has everyone heard that technique? Yes. The only problem with that technique is a lot of people know it, and it can be blatantly manipulative. By the way, everything I'm teaching you is unbelievably manipulative. Okay? But it doesn't seem so. Selling is about manipulation. People hate that, but it is. That's what it's about. Non-manipulative selling. Huh? What? All right? And so the problem with using don't you, isn't it, wasn't she, aren't you, all that kind of stuff, is it can, like I said, it can be offensive too. The security of your family is important to you, isn't it? Yeah. Okay? Person knows what you're doing. Instead of that, you want to use what I call a positive affirmation statement. Now, I actually teach 5 of them, but I only can teach one of them here tonight, unless we won't get through everything. And the positive affirmation statement is the LY positive affirmation statement. It's very subtle. All of this is subtle. If I say to you, obviously, the security of your family is important to you. Obviously. When you say the word obviously, what naturally happens in a person's mind is they automatically agree with you. It is a conditioned response. They may not say it out loud, but they are saying it inside their head. They have no choice. Try it out. Say something ridiculous. Obviously, whatever. And then for a second, you'll see the person agree with you. Now, if you say something ridiculous after the word obviously, they'll catch on. But you see the subtle difference between obviously getting more business into your store is important to you. You see the difference between that and getting more business into the store is important to you, isn't it? Okay? The other word is naturally. Naturally. Naturally, the security of your family is important to you. Naturally, good dental health is important to you. All right? Naturally, if you're an estate planner, naturally, you want to make sure that your family's taken care of after you're gone. They must answer yes. And if you add a very subtle head nod in, they will agree with you. They'll be moving their head. So what's happening now is now you are actually inside their head. And it doesn't seem manipulative at all. It seems very natural. Okay, does everyone understand that technique? And so that's what I did with them. I said to them, obviously, you want to bring more people into this pharmacy and compete with CVS down the street. And they said, yes, we do. And they were like, but we don't believe in radio advertising. We hate your station. We don't think it's going to work. It's too expensive. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? And so they kept saying that over and over and over to me. And so what I did is I wasn't really getting anywhere. So I decided to use a little visual metaphor for them. I asked to borrow a $1 bill, and I folded up, crumpled up the $1 bill like this, and I said to them, watch. If you invest just a little bit in radio advertising, your investment will rise. I unfolded the bill, and I gave it to them. Now what happened is that their minds were now open, and I ended up making the sale. And in fact, they ended up being one of the best clients that we ever had. Two things I did. One, I got inside their head. Second, I broke their mental pattern of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, radio sucks, all this kind of stuff, by doing the magic trick. Because the magic trick changed their pattern inside their head. Does that make sense? It interrupted their negative pattern. Does everyone understand that? Say yes. Okay? That's story number one. They became one of the best. And you know what? The only problem was every time I went to see them, guess what I had to do? Another magic trick. That's absolutely right. Let me tell you how powerful this is. And this was great for a young salesperson, or any salesperson, really. What I did, there used to be a line of people trying to sell them advertising whenever I came over. No matter how long people were waiting in line, bang, bring Dave right to the front. And I kind of smirk as I walk past the other salespeople. Little did they know that I got it with a simple little magic trick. Also, note this, that all the magic tricks that I'm doing here require no skill. They're all easy, very, very easy to do. Okay? Obviously, naturally, something to break the mental pattern, the negative mental pattern. Doesn't have to be that trick, but that's a really good one. Story number two is of an airplane salesperson. Anyone here sell airplanes, corporate jets? No corporate jet salespeople. Well, this is when I was working at a company called Magic Masters, and what we did is we sold magic tricks to CEOs and salespeople who were at conventions. So this guy came in, and I showed him, I did my little demonstration, and he said, well, you know what, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. All right, everyone heard that objection? I'll think about it? Okay. Well, I couldn't close the sale right then, but I did something called future pacing. Write this down, future pacing. Listen to the language that I used. I said to him, let's say, I don't remember his name, let's say it was Mr. Johnson. I said, Mr. Johnson, that's fine. I said, tonight you're going to be up in your hotel room. You're going to be laying in your bed. You're going to be watching TV. And the trick that I just showed you, you're not going to be able to get it out of your mind. It's going to stick in your mind all night. You won't be able to concentrate on anything else. And tonight, you're going to have to come down and buy this trick from me. He laughed and said, yeah, okay, all right. And he left. Well, guess what? That night, guess who came in? Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson ended up buying the trick, but the story gets way better than that. But what did I do there? I implanted a thought in his head about something that he was going to be, here's the technique, about what he was going to be doing in the future. So I knew that he was going to be laying on his bed watching TV, because that's what people do. And so that trigger, when he did that, it triggered in his mind, I can't get this trick out of my head. Right? And then I added, you're going to have to come down and buy it for me. So literally, the guy had no choice. I planted it in his head. So that's one technique of future pacing. Everyone understand that? Say yes? Yes. Okay. Another technique with future pacing is to eliminate buyer's remorse. Eliminate buyer's remorse. So after the prospect buys your product or service, you have them project themselves into the future of getting all the benefits that they're going to enjoy, and actually get them to see it in their mind and feel it inside their body. Now again, we don't have the time to go into great detail on it, but by doing this, it sets him up so you have him do it right there. Well, think about how it's going to be when you drive home in this car and your neighbors are looking at you and their heads are turning. Okay, if it's a guy and women are staring at you when you get out of the car. So whatever it is, and so what happens is when he experiences that buyer's remorse, which everyone has after a big purchase, What happens is that scenario goes in his head. You future paste it. Does that make sense to everybody? What? Yes? Yes. Okay, good. Here's what the airplane salesperson did. He just bought this trick from me. I taught him how to do it. A couple days later, he had been working on this sale for about 3 years. It takes a long time to sell a corporate jet. He'd been whining and dining the CEO of this company. So he said, what the hell? They were on the plane, and he said, hey, let me just show you something I just learned. It's really fun. And he was just really showing it for fun. So he did the trick, and he made the CEO's business card rise out of the deck at the end. CEO, like Fred, is stunned. CEO says, you've got to teach me how to do that. This is absolutely true. You've got to teach me how to do that trick. Guy says, I can't. I just bought it, magician's thing. I can't tell you how it works. CEO says, no, you must tell me how you did that friggin' trick. Guy jokingly, the airplane salesperson jokingly says, I'll tell you what. Not only will I teach you how to do that trick, I will give it to you if you buy the plane today. CEO says, you got a deal. Now. And so, no, typically we don't want you to teach your prospects how the tricks work. But if you're selling a corporate jet, probably a good idea. All right? So that is absolutely a true story. And again, it just shows the power of what we're talking about here. It makes you different than everybody else. Let's say you're selling insurance. Do you think that if you did like the dollar bill flow in the air or make a card rise out of the deck or something like that, your prospect, who is now your client, is going to tell other people about you? Right? My God, I went to this insurance agent. He was making stuff float in the air and cards rise. It was amazing. If you're a dentist and you do something like, by the way, all these places I'm mentioning, these professions have used this. And you show a child this. And you make the child's fear go away from doing a little magic trick. Do you think that you're going to get more referrals? Absolutely. This positively works. So what we just learned there, remember, is future pacing, as well as how to incorporate a magic trick into your presentation. Story number 3 is the biggest sale in history. The biggest sale in history. Well, obviously, it was the biggest sale in my history, and it was for WIMP radio in a very small town in Massachusetts. But once again, after I closed the pharmacy, there's been an automobile dealership which the station has been trying to get to advertise for months and months and months. Finally, the president of the company calls up the radio station and says, hey, send somebody over. We're interested in possibly advertising with you. I'm the only salesperson in the office. Everyone else is gone. Sales manager looks at me and literally says, oh, shit. And says, okay, Dave, go out there and you got to get this account. Now, this is for a radio station, automobile dealership is a great account. And they've been trying for months to get this account. So now I'm really nervous because, again, I've had no sales training. Literally, my sales training consisted of the sales manager slapping me on the back and saying, go out there and get them, killer. All right? I'm sure you've had that kind of sales training before. But I have been studying this kind of stuff. I've always been studying this hypnotic language kind of stuff. And so I did something called what I call the yes-set questions when I met with the prospect, the president of the company. And yes-set questions, again, are very subtle because they plant in the person's head to say yes. And let me give you an example. Jeffrey, will you help me? Okay, see? Good. All right. Jeffrey, let's say that we had a meeting, all right? And what do you do? IT manager. Okay. Let's say you're coming to me and I'm a dentist. All right? You're coming into the dentist. We know your name's Jeffrey. We're going to say your appointment's at 2:30 and you're coming in to get a cavity filled. Okay? So I'm the receptionist in this case. I'm not the dentist. I'm the receptionist. So you come in and the receptionist says, oh, hi, you must be Jeffrey. Yes, you are. Okay, good. And you have a 2:30 appointment. Isn't that right? Yes, it is. And I see here that, you're coming to get a tooth filled, right? Yes, you are. Okay. It's a beautiful day outside, isn't it? It is. You seem a little nervous. You a little nervous? No. Well, you would say yes. You go into a dentist to get your tooth filled. Okay. So yes, right? Okay, so you're saying yes, yes. And if you notice his head, if you were watching him, he was doing this. Right? So I do 5 to 10 of those at the beginning of every presentation I make. If you look at what I did at the very beginning of this, I had you guys saying yes a lot. And by doing that, what's so powerful about these yes set questions, and it can be used in any sales situation, is that the prospect does not realize that you are doing anything. They don't believe that you've even begun your presentation yet. This is subliminal selling. It's, again, extremely manipulative. However, it doesn't appear to be manipulative. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, right? Yes. Okay, good. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. Okay, very good. And so then what I did, I got them saying yes, 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 yes. And truthfully, I didn't give a very good presentation. I really did not give a good presentation because I was new at this. But I wasn't new at this. I asked to borrow, and I could borrow a $1 bill just to make it a lot faster. I'm really going to have to look at the screen here so you can see. I borrowed a $1 bill. Can everyone see the $1 bill? It's up on the screen, good. I borrowed a $1 bill, and I said, Mr. Prospect, by investing a little bit of money now in radio advertising, you will transform your little dollars into big dollars. And when I unfolded it, it was a $100 bill. Right. That's pretty cool, right? You want this one? No. Okay. That goes back in the case. Now notice, do you see, though, how I'm not just doing a magic trick for the sake of doing a magic trick? Now you're saying, well, wait a minute. What if you're talking about something that has nothing to do with making money? Mr. Prospect, by investing a little bit in your dental care, now, the payoff in the future will be huge. Do you see how all of this applies to anything that you're doing? Mr. Prospect, by investing a little bit now in our extended warranty, the payoff in the end will be huge if something should happen to the appliance that you just bought. It all ties in. You guys understand what I'm saying? I'm not doing tricks to do tricks. I'm doing tricks that illustrate a point. Did you see your reaction to it? That was his reaction to it, too. How many salespeople that day do you think did that? 0. 0. Guess what? He ended up buying the biggest single, now this was the biggest single sale in radio station history. Huge. And in fact, he took money away from another radio station to invest it in ours. Why? Because I was different. Why? Because I illustrated the benefit that he was going to receive with a visual aid, which knocked his socks off. And again, it changes their entire mindset. And it changes their entire thinking pattern. They laugh, they gasp, and they like you. They like you. People like to be entertained. Who makes more money, entertainers or teachers? Right? And so you're doing, now I'm not saying that you're going to do all of the tricks when you go into a sales presentation. Obviously you're not. Right? But you might do 1, you might do 2 at most. 1 is all you need. Now, the next time you go, they're going to want to see something else. Believe me. Believe me. Or they're going to call their buddy over. Hey, they're going to call people in to see this. And that's golden. Because now you are, as Dan would say, going from an annoying pest to... Very good. A welcome guest. Very good. Very good Kennedy-trained people. All right. So again, yes set questions. Don't miss the first part. Yes set questions followed by a visual aid, this time turning a $1 bill into a $100 bill. Again, very simple to do. Very, very simple to do. The final story is the story of Alexis and how we did the $117,000, how that came about. I believe it was at the Super Conference, a Kennedy Glazier event. I go to all of them. So, a Glazier Kennedy event. She was talking to Bill. She wanted coaching. Bill said, all my groups are filled. I don't do private coaching. She wanted private coaching. I don't do private coaching. The guy you should talk to is Dave. Talk to Dave Dee. Okay? So I just happened to be standing there, and so she started talking to me. And that night, I said, well, let's meet at the bar that night. So at the bar, we met. And the first thing I always wanted to do is develop rapport. In any sales situation, the number one thing you must do is develop rapport. Right? People tend to buy things from people who they like. And people tend to like people who are like them. In fact, it's been proven that as far as persuasion goes, the actual words that you say only make up 10% of the communication process. 30% is the tonality that you use. 60%, and these numbers are obviously not precise, 60% is your body language, how you use your body to convey. So when I do something, and I teach a number of ways to develop rapport, literally in 4 minutes or less, bang, like this. But one of the ways is through a process called matching and mirroring. So write that down, matching and mirroring. This is very, very powerful. Again, worth your trip here, if you do it. Matching and mirroring is if I am like someone, they tend to like me. Part of what you can match and mirror is someone's physiology, how they're using their body. All right? Now let's look at this couple right here. Guys, don't move. See these two right here? Okay, look at their arms. Do you see how they're sitting the exact same way? If you look around at each other, you will notice that a lot of you are sitting the exact same way. People who are in rapport with each other naturally do this. You know this if you've been with someone for a long time, right? You're sitting in some weird way, and your wife or your spouse is sitting in the same way. Right? They're scratching your head, they're scratching your head, they're scratching their head, and you're scratching like a monkey, and you're doing the same things. This happens naturally. This happens naturally, all right? But what you can do is you can actually duplicate it by being conscious of doing it. So if you're a prospect, so with Alexa, she's sitting there with her arms crossed, a little skeptical. Right? So I'm going to sit there with my arms crossed. Right? She's sitting with her legs crossed. I sit with my legs crossed. Here's the most powerful one, though. Doesn't have to be physiology. The most powerful one is breathing. Breathing. Matching and mirroring another person's breathing. Think about sometimes when you are really in rapport with somebody. I mean, you know what I mean. Really in rapport? This half of the room got it. This half of the room. Really in rapport, your breathing is very much the same. You match and mirror someone's breathing, they cannot detect that. Someone's going to say, hey, not going to say, hey, are you matching my breathing? They're not going to do that. But what will happen on a subconscious level is they will say, they won't know why, but they'll say, this person is like me. I like this person. They'll develop a feeling of rapport with you. And what's exciting is once that feeling of rapport is in them, they don't want to lose that. So you can go from matching and mirroring to something called pacing and leading. So this is a very negative body language position. There's only 5 things you need to know about body language, by the way. But this is not a good one, right? All right? So what I did, so she's sitting there listening to me, very skeptical. What I did was, after a while, after I've developed rapport with her by matching and mirroring her breathing and her posture and everything like that, I uncrossed my arms. Because she wants to maintain rapport, what do you think that she did? Uncrossed her arms. I lean in, which is a very good thing. When they lean in to you, she leans in. So now I've developed tremendous rapport with her, right? This is scary stuff. It really is, right? Scary. Now, how do you tie this in? Well, you tie it in by saying this. Obviously, I really can't read your mind. You know that. And so it's very important that I ask you a series of questions, and they're personal questions, okay? And that the answer to these questions will help me determine how I can best help you reach your goals. Is that okay? Yes. Why? We've developed rapport with each other. She likes me. I've just freaked her out. Her mind is now going, holy crap. And they will now give you the information that you need to get, including very personal, financial, or even more personal information about themselves. All right? So again, develop rapport, key in any sales situation. Most sales are based on the prospect liking and trusting the salesperson. That's scientifically proven. Liking and trusting the salesperson. You do that through developing rapport. And then, as you develop rapport, you do something which opens their minds, changes what they're thinking inside their head, breaks their pattern, and then at that point, their mind is open, you go in. All right?
Thank you for listening to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with Dan Kennedy. If you love hearing in on these lost Dan Kennedy talks and speeches and calls, then please let someone else know about this podcast. That's how you can help it to grow. And the more it grows, the more free Dan Kennedy we can bring to you. Also, Dan would love to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to help you make maximum money in minimum time. Now, this free gift comes with almost $20,000 in pure money-making information for free just for saying maybe. You can get this gift from Dan right now at nobsletter.com. Not only will you get the $20,000 gift, you're also going to get a subscription to 2 marketing newsletters that will be hand-delivered by the mailman to your mailbox each and every month. One from Dan Kennedy and one from me, Russell Brunson. To get this gift and your subscription, go to nobsletter.com right now.